very serious questions about the issue of the Second Amendment, which is to do with the matter of borrowing. Mr. Speaker, previously I think we used to have a system where our borrowing was, I think, a relation between our debt and GDP. Then later it changed. We moved to a fixed figure, and I remember we talked about 7 trillion at one time, went to 9 trillion, then went back again and said we are going to deal with the issue of debt to GDP, and I think it was set at 55%. But Mr. Speaker, I've looked at the way the law is now, and I'm comparing it with the amendment, and I'm asking myself some serious questions. If you look at what 50 says, and that is on the obligations and restrictions on national government guaranteeing and borrowing, 2C, it says that the Cabinet Secretary shall not later than 5 years from the date of coming into force of subsection 2A and 2B take measures to ensure that borrowing by the national government complies with the threshold set out in subsection 2A. Now, the proposed amendment reads very similarly that now the CS shall not later than 5 years from the date of coming into force of this act take measures to ensure that borrowing by the national government complies with the threshold prescribed in subsection 2A. So I think for me, what I'm seeing is the starting point. Because the 5 years is already there, it's already there in law. The starting point. At what point do we start measuring the 5 years? Apparently, if we pass this bill, my understanding is that we start counting the 5 years now. That will take us to 5 years from today. But if we use the previous law, it is 5 years from the date that we passed the law. So what are we doing? We are actually pushing forward government borrowing, within which, the period within which they will make sure that they follow the law that is already passed. Because we passed the law, they are not able to do it immediately. So it takes a while before the government can build the GDP and ensure that the borrowing that we've already done is within the law. So that period started when we passed the previous law. But now if we make this amendment, because it's very similar, we start counting the time from now. That means we are allowing another 5 years from today. And I think, Mr. Speaker, for that, I don't think it's the right thing to do. I think we should put pressure on Treasury to try and do it within the period that is left so that they can be able to balance this thing. Otherwise, what will happen is we'll end up coming back to the House and now putting another fixed figure and saying, now we are pushing our debt ceiling to 13 trillion. We are moving from debt to GDP. We want a fixed figure again. Let us sort it out. Let Treasury sort out based on the law that we have already passed. Let us not give them an opportunity to again increase or extend the time. With that, Mr. Speaker, I submit.
The Member of Parliament for Tetu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also rise to support this bill, especially the amendment with regards to accounting principles. We all know that globally we use the accrual system of accounting, but maybe what the chairperson and the mover of the motion needs to possibly tell this House is how shift from cash to accrual system is going to make the books of the government look. Is it going to, say, for example, exaggerate our debt? Is it going to exaggerate our assets or diminish them? I think I would have expected such a substantial motion being moved. Some scenario analysis would have been put. But Mr. Speaker, on the issue of the debt ceilings, again, I here would support my colleague Honorable Mbui, because this matter has kept shifting from one regime to the other, from one parliament to the other. And I think as a country we need to determine how we want to measure our debt, how we want to do this once and for all. It looks like a lot of these moves, Mr. Speaker, are for convenience, by the government of the day or by the regime of the day. Sometimes we want 10 trillion, we want a percentage of GDP. Now we are shifting again the number of years.